Good morning, all my fellow accoutramented, fitted out, packing patriots. Take a look at this headline from CNN. Nation's top governors under fire as three big states reckon with deadly crisis. Oh no! Is CNN advocating insurrection in the states? Of course not. You know an idiom when you see one. CNN only knows an idiom when it sees it, though, when it uses it itself. God help you if you're a Republican using idiom, all of a sudden they don't know what it is anymore. Let's take a look at this article a little bit. The multiple crises gripping the U.S., from a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic to a deadly winter storm that left millions of Texans without heat and potable water, have jeopardized the once bright futures of three of the nation's most prominent governors who are trying to defend their judgment. Well, I could see why two of these three governors are trying to defend their judgment, but to throw in the Texas governor? Come on. And in the next paragraph, Republican Greg Abbott and Democrats Andrew Cuomo and Gavin Newsom, who are all up for re-election in 2022, are facing very different problems. In Governor Greg Abbott's case, this is a problem not of his own making. In fact, it's a problem for which he isn't even directly responsible for. His state is without power, which is a problem of the power company. The power company is not a state-run entity. It's a private corporation. Even in this far left a state as Hawaii, where I live, the electric company here is privately owned. So they're trying to throw Governor Greg Abbott into the same dirty pool as Governors Cuomo and Newsom, who did have a large hand in their own problems. Now let's take a look how CNN identifies and talks about these problems. They start off, of course, with Texas. And they say, Texans demand answers as Abbott promises to fix energy grid problems. Well, I gotta say, if he has said he's gonna fix energy grid problems, he's an idiot. In my very last video, I point out how these energy problems are the problems of the electric company that runs in Texas, and that if you want to fix these electrical problems, it's going to cost a fortune. If you want to make this electrical grid problem-proof, you're going to have to raise electric rates so high nobody can afford the electricity. Governor Abbott's only problem here is to say that he wants to mandate the winterization of the generators and the power system, the grid. He should be saying that if Texans want to winterize the generators and the grid, how much it's going to cost. It would be wiser for Governor Abbott just to say, listen, if you want more expensive electricity, have your legislators bring it up and we'll vote on it. And that if you vote on it and approve it, that you're going to be paying for higher electrical rates for this winterization of generators and the grid. And like I said, Governor Abbott is not responsible for the power in his state. It's a privately run company with shareholders, and these shareholders demand a return on their investment. And if they're going to be expected to invest even more money into the power grid system of Texas, they're going to demand a return on that investment. Governor Abbott would be much better served just pointing out how expensive it's going to be to upgrade this system and how it might be better if they took a few precautions for power outages in the future. All right, let's go on to the next problem, Governor. Cuomo faces blowback on multiple fronts. Well, mostly he's facing blowback for killing off, 16,000 elderly citizens of New York in old folks' homes? That is the blowback he's facing. Well, that and covering it up. Let's go on to the last governor they want to talk about. Of course, Governor Newsom of California, whose state was locked down so bad that the economy is in the toilet, that the only person 6 months ago who could go to a hair salon was Nancy Pelosi, who used political pull to illegally go to a hair salon when no one else could. Now he's under recall for many of his poor decisions concerning those that he made for locking down the state. It is still under heavy lockdown a year later. So yes, Governor Newsom, in my opinion, should be recalled, but that will be up to the citizens of California. Oh, and by the way, I understand that Californians have a petition to recall him and that they now have enough votes, and that Governor Newsom, all of a sudden, he wants to make sure that these people were legally in his state and had the right to vote. Funny about how he didn't have this problem during the last election. Finally, they don't have it in here, but they also gave a passing shot at the governor of Florida. Oh, and by the way, do you notice something about this? They've talked about the governors of California, Texas, Florida, and New York. And you know what the most populous states in the nation are? That's right, in that order. California, Texas, Florida, and New York. The Dems are awful afraid right now that their citizens in these states are going to vote heavily Republican because of what the governors have done to lock down or make mistakes in their states, especially California and New York that were heavily locked down. Florida really doesn't have a problem. It didn't lock down at all, hardly. It remained mostly open, and so it fared the storm a lot better. And Texas did too. So Texas and Florida really aren't having a problem. New York and California, though, that were very heavily locked down and remain mostly locked down to this day, well, if there is an insurrection coming, it will happen at the ballot box, where the voters will come to throw out the bombs. I still have great faith in the American voter. I think that in 2022, there will be a tidal wave coming against the Democrats who have punished the average American. I think that the Democrats fear the average voter for what they've done to them. Time will tell.